So it's with great pleasure that I am hosting this TNFD consultation because TNFD is a topic which is very close to my heart. When I joined UNEP-FI 2.5 years ago, I was part of the TNFD accelerator team, so there was no TNFD secretariat, TNFD wasn't launched yet, and we're really working to translate this wild idea from Andrew Mitchell and a few others into a reality. And I think after that, we have been, overwhelmed each time again about the success and the uptake that the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures has been giving, with today over 100,000 downloads of the draft beta framework, over 1,000 TNFD forum members, and I think in particular now also the first organizations, both financial and corporate, who start to reference TNFD already in their non-financial reporting. So for this session, I'm joined by two amazing experts, both coming from Japan, who represent organizations that are part of the task force. So for those that might be less familiar, TNFD is a market-led initiative with today 40 task force members who is really, their role is guiding their direction of the development of a framework to measure and disclose nature-related risk and opportunities. So we have Hiroshi Takashima, who is research counselor and head of sustainability research at Nirin Shukin Bank, and Hiroko Urashima, who is manager sustainability department at MS&AD Insurance Group Holdings. And as we've done with other sessions in the morning, I would want to ask Hiroshi and Hiroko to first introduce themselves to the group. For this session, we have 50 minutes, and again, I'll be asking the panelists a few questions, but if you have any burning questions, please raise your hand and we'll try to answer that. So let's get over to Hiroshi first.
Thank you, Romy. This is my great honor to present this seminars. And thank you for UNEP-FI to invite me to this panel. My name is Hiroshi Takashima. I'm an advisor on global financial regulation and sustainability in Norin Chukin Bank. Also, I will serve as the research counselor in Norin Chukin Research Institute. And those of who don't know about the Norin Chukin Bank, the Norin Chukin Bank is the national financial institution for agriculture, fishery, and forestry cooperatives in Japan, with asset size of 100 trillion yen, which is about 8,000 trillion won, or 750 billion US dollar. We are actively doing lending to the customers as well as the investment. And you may think about it is similar to Rabobank or in Holland or Agricole Co in France. And we have 100 years anniversary this year. Well, throughout the 100 years, we support the agriculture economies, agriculture and fishery and the forestry business, as well as the development of economy in Japan. And one thing I'd like to say about our portfolio, we have, on top of a lending portfolio, we have a rather bigger investment portfolio. One of the reasons is that we receive so much money from customers, members, agriculture, farmers and fisheries. So we will invest globally so that we get the same stable profit to the member. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hiroko, can I ask you to introduce yourself also to our audience?
Okay, thank you. This is Hiroko Urashima from MSNDD Insurance Group Holdings. I am a manager of the sustainability department and have been in this field for almost like 15 years. And our group is an insurance company from Japan. We have non-life life insurance business domain. And yes, I'm very happy to be here, very honored. I'm not sure I can share good learnings, but I will try my best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hiroko. And I think TNFD is such a new initiative that we're all on a learning journey. So I haven't met any financial institution that says, you know, I've nailed it, I have no lessons. All of them, we had 42 pilot participants, all of them said, we need to do more work. So don't worry about that. So I think we're all very excited about the TNFD, but I'm sure there's many people here in the audience who never heard that abbreviation before today. So I think I want to come back to you both with a first question on, you know, what is the TNFD? What does it try to do? And why did you as organizations decided to become part of the task force? So I worked a lot with one of the founders, Andrew Mitchell, and he always said it's not a sweet shop, it's a sweatshop. You actually need to do work if you're part of the task force. So why did you decide to invest your time in effort in the development of the TNFD? So I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe you, Hiroshi?
According to the first questions, I don't know I'm the right person to answer the question, but as yesterday, Eric Fisher said that we need to change the paradigms of finance sectors. And TNFD is a nature version of TCFDs. The TNFD aim to shift global flow away from the nature negative outcome and toward a nature positive outcome. So in nutshell, stop by disclosing the impact and dependence in the risk to stop the degradation of natures. And then coming back to the second questions, we have two reasons to participate in the UNEP-FI project. One is that Norinchukin, as Lomi said, Norinchukin is one of the participants of TNFD members, task force members. And second thing is that there are so much unknowns. And TNFD, of course, the TNFD is built on the TCFD structures, but it looks easy to implement, but there are many unknowns. We start creating a heat map of our portfolio using a tool like Anchor to identify the nature, material impact and dependency. One of the big unknown is a location in which our client operates and from where they procure the materials. It sounds obvious, but financial institution may not have information of the organized manner. This is the reason why we decided to participate in the pilot. Using the project finance of our portfolio, we analyze the interface with nature in particular locations and the impact and dependency, and assess the risk and review our current practice of our credit due diligence as well as the risk management policy. We feel that this exercise is quite useful for understanding the LEAP approach. LEAP approach is a kind of risk assessment approach which TCFD proposed. And we learned a lot. And finally, we are quite excited to see that our contribution has been materialized in the recent TNFD, UNEP-5 report. Thank you.
So much. Hiroko, with the same question. So basically, what's TNFD and why are you working on this as an organization?
Okay, yes. So in our midterm management plan of our company, we aim for a risk solution platformer to build a resilient and sustainable society because we're an insurance company. And of course, we deal with risk that is, present today, like fire or, like maybe earthquake or sudden natural disaster. But we have to look at more longer-term risk that will be coming to realize in, more longer terms. And natural biodiversity losses and natural capital losses will be very material risks for our client. And we wanted to investigate more deeply what will happen to our client's business when more biodiversity nature collapse in future. And we thought that by practicing the TNFD framework, we could be more supportive to our client business for the resilient and sustainable business operation. So that was the most biggest motivation. Of course, our member is also a TNFD task force member, and we thought we could get his cooperation in working in this project. And that was our motivation to work in this pilot.
Thank you so much, both. So just to add from our side, so the TNFD was, of course, set up to develop and deliver a risk management and disclosure framework for organizations to report and act on evolving nature-related risk. It really mirrors the approach that the TCFD has taken on climate, and in that sense, also the TNFD in the development of the BETA framework is mirroring this 4-pillar structure that we see from TCFD, which looks into governance, risk management, strategy, and then metrics and targets. The TNFD has proposed during its 2 years of development, which are coming to conclusion in September of this year, to work through a open innovation approach in which they basically, as with a software application, they're basically drip releasing parts of the framework to the market to ensure that it can be tested and feedback can be given to the development of the framework so that it's really in line with what the market is expecting from the TNFD. We, as UNEP Finance Initiative, have been one of the founding partners of the TNFD, so that's also what I explained in my opening statement, and we're now part of the Stewardship Council, but we're also a implementation partner. We're supporting the TNFD to staff support. They have a growing team themselves within the TNFD Secretariat, and one of the main activities we have been doing over the past months is that we had 2 cohorts of organizations piloting the TNFD framework. So in total we had, for the first cohort, we had 42 financial institutions participating from 19 countries, including also many from Asia. And what we've done with them is that we took them through the so-called TNFD LEAP approach. So LEAP stands for locate, evaluate, assess, and prepare. And it really provides organizations with the how-to guidance to apply the TNFD framework in its development. And what we have been doing is that we've worked with both sectoral and geographical groups to apply that framework. So we've been looking at high-risk sectors such as rubber in Indonesia to really see how this could be applied as part of the portfolio. Our 42 participants has been the largest single cohort of pilot participants, but there's over 200 piloters at the moment in total, and we're continuing now with a second group with 19 organizations, of which 7 are new that are looking into nature scenarios, and also in the link between TNFD and TCFD. So just to kind of set the scene for our questions. So coming back to our panelists, so Hiroshi, you already explained how you are a leading food and agricultural bank in Asia. Can you explain to me how your portfolio composition is on the one hand driving and on the other hand creating a great sense of urgency on nature action?
Thank you, Romy. I would like to answer the second question first.
Up to you.
Yeah, it's it's difficult, but we have 2 reasons for feeling sense of urgencies. One is a purpose of a bank, and second thing is that the risk management point of view. First one is simple. As I explained, that the Norinchukin Bank is agricultural, fishery, and forestry cooperatives. So we have, for the purpose of a bank, we have to, or we need to disclose what is the risk, what is the risk management, and how do we think about opportunities. And the second one is the risk management part of the portfolio. As I said, that our portfolio is well diversified, but when we're looking at from the middle of nature, even though we have a well diversified portfolio, we see the different picture. In other words, that in some small polarization of impact and dependency in our portfolios, like utilities, commercial staple, including food sectors, and the material, has a higher impact among the sector of our portfolio. And we realize that we have a relatively higher reliance on the water resources and the biodiversity. We cannot simply decrease such exposure when you think about the bank's raison d'etre or purpose. We need to engage with the customer, especially in food and agri sector, to mitigate mitigate the risk of dependency and the impact on nature. Coming back to when we come to the first questions. With regard to the nature actions, we have several initiatives to preserve the nature, like low-cost reforestation initiative and seagrass and the kelp restoration. We are increasingly exploring opportunity which serve for the conservation of nature and hopefully create a benefit for the member, which is the farmers and fisheries, who engage in the primary business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hiroshi, and I apologize. I set an alarm because I had to, pre-register for my flight back, but I think I probably should have set it to another time than this. I want to come to you, Hiroko, with a question. So MSNAD has been one of the insurance members piloting the TNFD framework. Can you explain to the audience how you've approached that for both your investment and reinsurance work?
Okay, so when we applied for this pilot, we wanted to test how we could research to implement the LEAP approach without the information of where the manufacturer has the procurement location. So we have chosen the Indonesian rubber industry, and even though, and we had also a partner from a university-based startup, which they could analyze from the remote sensing data. And we were planning to try that technology to investigate, even though there is no enough information to the FIs from the non-FIs companies, but also do the LEAP approach. So that is what we have tried in our pilot. And then, yes, we had many learnings. And from the investor standpoint, we wanted to, even though we wanted to try the TNFD LEAP approach, we also, in the other hand, we had to understand the connection between our investment portfolio with the Indonesian rubber's impact or dependency. So to understand that, we have tried the scoping exercise by using a multi-regional input-output model to see, so if we invest in like a tire company or like an automobile company, how that investment connects to the Indonesian forest area input. So we calculated that forest area amount by using that multi-regional input-output model. So I think that exercise also made us understand the quantitative impact or dependency to the natural capital in the Indonesia forests. Yes.
Great, thank you. And I think the organization you worked with also became a part of TNFD's data catalyst as part of that process. That's great to hear. So coming back to you, Hiroshi, with a question a bit expanding the scope. So Norinchukin Bank is one of the members of the PRB working group, which is updating our nature target setting guidance. So can you explain to me a bit more about how this work together with our other PRB members, we have nearly 35 now participating in that process, fits into your wider nature narrative, and how this is linked to TNFD and its development?
Thank you, Romy. And PLB is the principle for responsible banking, right? And I just like to answer the question by general and the specific answers. First one is that as a member, Norinchukin Bank as one of the member of global financial industries, and since that Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was formed, we have to do something in that case. In this field. And as yesterday's meeting, I guess Romy said about target 15, which are the disclosures. And not just for the target 15, among the 4 goals and the 23 target, there are many place or many things the bank need to do. So that's why one of the reasons is that that's why we take a target nature target setting pilot, and obviously that it is very difficult for individual bank to find a holistic and a systematic approach to achieve nature target. And on top of that, if you think about the EU regulations, sooner or later that financial regulator will think about the nature regulations. So without having a kind of a target, or target setting, it is quite difficult to communicate with financial regulators. Second thing is specific to Norinchukin Bank. Norinchukin Bank recognizes human life, animal life, and the life of a planet are all connected. And we realize that we rely on their value chain of life. In other words, there is no business on a dead planet. We would like to foster agriculture, fishery, and forestry industry while creating a prosperous future for food and lifestyle, and thereby contributing to sustainable global environment. To achieve this purpose, we need to have a North Star we aim and specify a path to achieve nature positive. This is the second reason we participate in the working group. When we come to the TNFD disclosure and the development, this exercise contributing to metrics and target of the TNFD's disclosures. It provides important insight to develop TNFD framework, which we are currently considering the nature positive transition plan. In wider context, we hope that the effort on working group could identify the financial gap and encourage and enable nature-friendly business in financial community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hiroshi. And I think I was carefully listening to you, and I think a few years back, you would only hear civil society actors make statements, and now you make them on behalf of a major bank. So I think that's such a huge shift. And there's this beautiful African proverb that I use a lot. You know, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And that's why we as UNEP-FI really work with our members in the development of what we do, because it's not always an easy journey to have 35 voices in the room, but it's necessary if you really want to go far. On our updated guidance, we're happy to say that we're partnering with the TNFD as a knowledge partner in that, but also with the Science-Based Targets Network and with the Finance for Biodiversity Pledge, who have a working group with asset managers and asset owners who are also building target setting guidance for that specific constituency. So I would love to speak about TNFD all day, as you can see. But I think before we open up to the floor, as said, many people in the audience will be new to the topic of TNFD, either as an individual or as an organization. So I think from two organizations who have, dipped their toes into the water already, what are your recommendations to those organizations how to get started? And maybe you want to start, Hiroko?
So there was many findings from our pilot regarding to the Indonesian rubber, and we found out that, as I mentioned before, how we could implement LEAP approach without enough information from the manufacturer. And then we found out that there is many technologies being advanced that you could understand where the rubber plantation are located without the information from the supply chain. So it's very amazing to see all these, advancement from the, remote sensing technology or like machine learning to find out where the rubber plantation from the, picture. And then, so it was very exciting to see that kind of testing. So it's, for my recommendation, it's you should start something. There's too much materials from the TNFD platform. you'll get buried by all the appendix, but it's better to start something without, reading all the documents, but to start. And then, as you said, there's many partners will support, or, you can get information if you start doing something. So that makes it more clear. You could get the more clear image about what is TNFD is trying to do, what is nature-related risks and opportunities, and at the very concrete idea you can get if you start something. And then, as I've mentioning this pilot project in the Indonesian rubber, it's very difficult to grasp the whole portfolio of our investment portfolio, or our whole comprehensive insurance portfolio, because we wanted to try the LEAP approach in one particular location, in one particular sector. So I think it's very difficult to try to understand the whole portfolio, but either way, you should start something in some kind of a, it could be a part of your portfolio, you could be the whole portfolio using like Encore, but yes, it's very good to start something, even though you don't understand everything.
Great. And Hiroshi, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I completely agree with Hiroko's comment, and I echo the comment she made. And it is very challenging, and there's sometimes no data, and we are still learning, and no bank have the perfect at this stage. But I could recommend that Act Now, which I borrow from the Finance for Biodiversity's phrase. And I don't know whether there will be a competitive advantage for starting now, but I feel that from our experience, externally we enhance the collaborations, particularly in MSN, AD, and our bank, and SMBC, and DBJ form alliance for financial alliance for nature positive solutions. So we could, by collaborating with other bank, we could find a solution which we could serve to the customer to make nature positive. And internally, I think it will bring a kind of momentum within our organizations. Every organization having a kind of difficult, especially for the nature issues, to convince every staff of the members and the board of the members. So that's why, by doing some of the exercise, could make them to understand and collaborate. And since TNFD is built on the TCFD structure, it's relatively easy to grasp the whole pictures. But obvious, that's why maybe optimizing synergy with the TCFD building on climate nature nexus. But nature is very complicated and location matters. We cannot complete everything, as Hiroko said. So, and no financial institution has achieved the levels. So we recommend that, I recommend that familiarizing yourself with the TNFD, either reading the TNFD material or watching TNFD webinar, or participating in a UNEP pilot test, and to see the example of the disclosure and of other financial institutions, and try small project for a particular sector or location, which is material for individual institutions. it will be a long journey anyway. Build the TNFD framework itself is an iterative process. So designed, so it is designed the risk assessment as the iterative way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, both. And I think maybe adding from my side two remaining points, of course, agreeing with everything that you already said. So something we often hear is, another disclosure framework. We're already disclosing so much. But what we have noticed through the piloting process is that actually a lot of the data that's needed for your TNFD report are things that you are already collecting, maybe through your TCFD report or through other reporting frameworks. So I think not a single organization will be starting from zero. So I think if you need to convince your boss or yourself, keep that in mind. I think the other component that we've seen as part of our piloting process is that organizations that kind of set up their own internal task force to work on this topic that really sits across the organization. So it has people from the business, from risk, from strategy, from the ESG team. Those are the ones that are most successful and also very much in line with Hiroko's comment of, working with a partner. Those that work with a partner have been most effective. And I think many organizations, including civil society, can give you data and give you insights. So really develop your own task force if you want to be successful in your TNFD approach. And with that said, the clock is ticking, but I think we still have 7 or 8 minutes. So I really welcome any questions from the audience. We had an issue with microphones earlier, so I don't know if we have a microphone in the room now. If not, I suggest people to come up to the stage and unmute themselves to speak into the microphone, because otherwise we can't translate to Korean. So I see one question up the front, so maybe you can come to us, and I apologize for this logistical glitch from our side. You can turn the power on the microphone and ask your question.
Thank you for nice presentation. I really appreciate it. I have 2 questions. The first one is, for me, there is one difference between TCFD and TNFD. TCFD is purely invest focused, financial material only. But according to your website, we are talking about impact as well as risk and opportunity. So it sounds like you have double materiality, having impact materiality and financial materiality. So I just wondering whether my observation is right. That's my first question. The second question is about ESRS, because ESRS has a double materiality, and they finished their proposal almost, and they have probably many metrics on biodiversity as well. I'm just wondering, from a TNFD perspective, do you see some missing metrics you want to add to ESRS framework? And if there are, what will be? That's my second question. Thank you.
Thank you. Hiroshi, can I ask you to start?
Thank you for the questions, and it's maybe a difficult one, but I try to answer your questions. And as an alternative member of the task force of TNFD, and first question, we TNFD addressed that it's cater for both single and double materiality. So in general, there is the difference between the TNFD and TCFD had one small column called general requirement. The first of there are six requirements, but the first one is that clearly said that if you like to do a double materiality, you can do so, or type of thing. So first thing the financial institution and corporate need to do is to identify, express that intention of disclosure, either by a single materiality or double materialities. Second question, I'm not quite sure whether any missing link on the data or solutions, I should say. I guess I know by TNFD saying that there are 3,000 metrics around the world, and they pick 12 out of 3,000. Yeah, we are overwhelmed by so many metrics in the market. But we hope that I simply feel that we need to have a single metrics like a TCFD, GHG footprint, like something like a biodiversity footprint, so that we could gauge that exposure by the footprint. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe to add to that a little bit. So there is, so within the nature space, there is a tendency of mirroring what's happening within climate. So there is the partnership Biodiversity Accounting Financials, which really looks at biodiversity footprinting based on the 5 main drivers of biodiversity loss. So that's a method which is developing in line with the PCAF to have this biodiversity footprint. From my side, I would say I think it's best to combine these pressure models with also bottom-up models that actually look at biodiversity data, such as the IUCN STAR, so the species threat abatement reduction metrics, because that provides you with a more complete and comprehensive picture. But that's just an addition from my side. Hiroko, do you want to add to this question? And if there's, I think we have space for one more question. So if you have a question, please feel free to come up to the front.
The question is very important but very difficult. I'm wondering myself because nature varies in its location. Of course, water is important, but it means different if it's a very water scarcity place or not, because everything varies in each location. So when you talk about metric or same common metric that stands for all, I don't always I have a bunch of questions. Is that meaningful or not? So
Yeah, so nature is always context specific. And that makes it harder to grasp. And I think if we organize a next APAC, we should have a longer session on data metrics.
Yeah, if I may add for the biodiversity footprint, it's nice to have such kind of metrics, but it is good for target setting, but not good for the risk management point of view. It is a kind of, every models, every metrics have, pros and cons on to assess and the risk and opportunity. Thank you.
Well, it's no question. It's just an explanation of how you can access to framework, detailed framework information, because I'm also the TNFD Task Force alternate member. And there's a special website called framework.tnfd.global. And you can download the PDF, but particularly sector guidances or some other guidances only available online. And you need to set up your dashboard, so you make account, and you can choose sectors or biomes. And then, according to your selection, the guidance appropriately, how can I say, pop up according to your choices. So it's a little bit complicated, but you can get detailed information from that particular website. And also that website is so-called a multilinguistic one. So with Google Translate, and recently the quality of Google Translate is much better than before. So of course there are some kind of error and some kind of misunderstanding of the phrases, but still you can read your language And of course, me, sometimes, not sometimes, usually I switch to Japanese because I'm Japanese. So you can read through the document and also detailed information on website in your language. So please visit it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that welcome addition. I think from my side, what we recommend organizations, if you're interested in TNFD, during the TNFD forum, you'll have webinars, newsletters, and all sorts of information. It doesn't oblige you to do anything just yet, but it's a great way for information gathering, and over 1,000 organizations have done so. So I think that shows the importance. And if you're interested, we as UNEP-FI in our role have been supporting the TNFD with piloting and other work. We're working, for example, on a publication on the dependency side because that's more, less matured, I would say. So with that said, I really want to turn to Hiroko and Hiroshi, and I hope you can join me in a big thank you. It's the only word I learned in Korean, 감사합니다. I hope I pronounce it well. Thank you so much for your attention.